What if I told you that the video you just watched this morning never actually happened? That voice was cloned. The face was computer generated. The evidence you swore was real actually wasn't. Welcome to the world of deepfakes. Artificial intelligence can now create videos and audio so convincing that even trained eyes struggle to tell the difference. And in a culture already drowning in misinformation, this technology does not just confuse us, it threatens to break our very trust in what's real. Today on the Green Room, we're going to talk about how to pivot and pivoting towards the truth in a world where deepfakes exist. Because if everything can be faked, then how do we stay grounded? That leads into the first point, and we're going to discuss what are deepfakes and why they matter. Now, deepfakes are AI generated images, videos, or voices designated to imitate reality. You've probably seen them, whether it's a celebrity's face that was swapped on someone else's body, or a politician appearing to say words they never even said. But here's the scary part, it's no longer just entertainment, because politicians are now being targeted with manipulated videos. Every day, people are being victimized with non-consensual images, so realistic that they destroy reputations. The US even had to pass the Take It Down Act, which forces platforms to remove harmful AI-generated sexual content. And it's not slowing down. Experts warn that deepfakes could flood our elections, businesses, and even our relationships. But here's the danger. When fake things look real, we risk believing lies. But there's an even bigger danger when everything could be fake. We risk believing nothing. Now let's talk about the psychological spiritual danger. And let's think about that for a moment. If you can't trust your eyes, if you can't trust your ears, then where do you put your trust? Some people will double down on skepticism and say everything's fake, nothing's real. The cynicism is just as dangerous as gullibility, because it closes us off from truth entirely. And in a spiritual sense, that's exactly how misinformation wins. In other words, that's how the devil wins. If the enemy can get you to believe a lie, he'll try to get you to believe nothing at all. But here's where the pivot comes in. Just like in episode 1, we talked about pivoting in life. Sometimes the pivot we need today is towards discernment, not just believing what we see, but questioning, verifying, and testing before we let it shape our worldview. Now, that takes us to, how do you pivot towards the truth in this deepfake era? So how do we do that? Let me give you 3 practical steps. 1, let's verify the source. Don't just watch a clip. Ask yourself, where did this come from? Reverse image search. Check multiple sources and look for the context. Part 2, ask why. Every piece of content has a motive. Was this video made to inform, to entertain, or to manipulate? Point 3, let's practice humility. Be willing to say, I was wrong. I believe something that wasn't true. That pivot isn't weakness, it's wisdom. And that is the heartbeat of the Green Room. We don't aim for perfect conversation, we aim for real ones. And that's what we need in a time where deepfakes exist. But here's the bottom line. Deepfakes and misinformation aren't just about politics or headlines. They're about trust. If we let technology steer our ability to tell what's true, then we risk living in a world where nothing is real. But here's the greatest thing about this. You have the power to pivot. You have the power to pivot away from cynicism. You have the power to pivot away from blind belief. But you know what you do pivot towards? You pivot towards discernment. So this week, here's my challenge. Next time you see a viral clip, and before you hit that share button, before you react, take a quick pause, sit back, deep breath, and ask, is this true? Where's the source? Why was this even made? And if you discover you were wrong, pivot and without shame. Because remember, that's wisdom. I would love to hear from you all. I'm going to ask you this one thing. Has there been a time recently where you found out something you believed was fake? Drop it in the YouTube comments, DM me on Instagram, share this episode to someone who needs to hear it, and encourage them to stay grounded. Like I always say, this is the green room where we don't cancel, we counsel, and where we learn that even in a fake world, truth still matters. That's it for tonight, y'all. Peace.